PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, the Star Wars podcast, featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. Well, Matty, I gotta say, I am very glad that Force Center is back, because while Force Center was not talking about Star Wars, it seemed that we'd inherited the curse of news dropping after our podcast, which is a very strong Force Center tradition. Well, Force Center is back, so the news dropped after they had dropped their Tuesday episode. Luckily, they went live and talked about it, but it means that our curse is broken. That news is going to start dropping on Tuesday before we record on Wednesday. We are back. Holy crap, we're back with big news, a big news week. This is Holy Snokes. I am PLD on PLD Projects. That's my co-host, Matty Gunner. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, mate. I just have a really important question I need to ask you.
Ooh, big question right at the top.
How many? What's the limit for the saying the F word on streams? Is it like in the first 30 seconds?
I haven't actually looked into the official.
Okay, I'm gonna PG it. I'm gonna PG it because we are now a monetized channel. What the F is that on your head?
My head? This is my new and improved queen hat.
Do you know how much money you just cost me by getting a new hat? We have a pool, bro, of how long that old hat was gonna last.
Well, you know, I had to say I wasn't going to do it. But my daughter, the one who originally bought me the original queen hat for Christmas, like a few years back, decided to upgrade me and bring me a new queen hat. Wanted to make the same one, basically. The logo was a little bigger, but it was a new and improved. So how could I say no? How could I say no?
Get that. It's a Christmas present from your daughter, but like at the same time, we had a pool going, and my bet was that you would have been buried in that old hat.
I still have it. I didn't like toss or anything. It's like on my dresser as a place of honor. Like it's kind of retired in a way. I actually, the funny thing is, I went out. I had a big snowstorm for a bit the other day. I went out to shovel and I switched and put the old hat on. I'm like, this is dirty. This is old. I don't want to go work out in this one kind of thing. And this one comes back pristine, more pristine for the camera, so to speak. So.
Okay, so that's your show hat.
My show hat, yeah, but I'm sure this will get dirty and used before too long because I tend to wear them hard and play hard and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure it's gonna eventually be the same way. Give me a year, it'll be just as worn in as the old one. But yes, so we had Holy Snokes, of course. Going back to the topics here, we usually have a big topic of the week, and then we talk about the news first, and then go into our big topic.
It's going to be a pretty short episode today, right? Because not much happened while we were away. Because it's the holidays, right? Like nothing's good. No franchise is going to announce anything right after Christmas.
Of course,
right?
Why would they? They have to take their time to ease into things, or not, as it were. In fact, this is going to be an all news episode because, quite frankly, we want to make sure we give our due to everything we have. We actually had this plan. I pitched it earlier in the week. There was a Reddit user. I don't love Reddit, but this was actually kind of cool. They had taken. They had. I love a lot. Actually, I do like a lot of Reddit. There's a lot of also.
I love pissing people off in Reddit. It's one of my key hobbies. It's like when I'm depressed and need the internet equivalent of kicking the dog once you're pissed off. Going on Reddit. That's the equivalent of kicking the cat.
Well, in the Star Wars canteen, I'll give credit where credit's due. Is a Reddit user called Funny Mode 689 who did a lot of work, and he had put forth this. Fine. He put forth this close. That's like the cousin or something like that. He put forth like all the news bits or all the pieces of information from like the episode 7 art book, all different news sources, etc. So either way, and he put together like basically what George Lucas's episode 7 would have been. Now I know it's kind of a dangerous topic at some points. I know we have
what would George have done?
Yeah, what would George do? Exactly. And I think that we are two people who would come at that with a very fine viewpoint instead of going, this is what should have happened. Episode 7 sucks. The sequel sucked. The man baby stuff. We can look at it and go, this is interesting. I am interested to see compare. We liked episode 7. I like to see what George would have done as well. And then can kind of compare and contrast and stuff. I think that'd be kind of a fun conversation for us to have. And it still will be. Just now next week, because we have so much news that drop at this point. So there's a little preview for next week. We'll get into that, unless all of a sudden more news drops like the size that we got this week. Who knows? At this point, this is potentially next week's episode. But this week, we have a lot of news to discuss. Some really big, some minorly big, and some just kind of cool. I'm going to comment on. We are going to. I'll give you a heads up. We're not going to start with the biggest piece of news. We will save that.
Oh, why would we do that?
We'll warm up to it. We'll lead up to it. And that'll be our main point of conversation.
We're a monetized channel now. Like you guys gotta pay. You guys gotta wait. We're not going to put timestamps on the episode either. So you'd be like, when are they going to talk about it? They're going to do it at the end. Maybe we do it in the middle. Who knows? Watch the whole episode and you find out.
You'll have to find out. Absolutely. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. All right, we got 9 pieces of news yourself.
I got to shout out Jake Yakavata. I used to have this catchphrase called back in the old days called "Cash, Chicks, and Championships," which you may remember is a phrase I handed to one Tom Dagnino. I now have a new phrase now that we are a monetized channel and we are now officially content creators. It is now cash, clicks, and cosplay chicks.
I like that. All good. All here for that. All right, let's get into our first bit of news. We had the director of the Rey movie, which is now, we're not sure when it's coming out at this point. Well, she had some comments that were made. And let me first of all say that I create all my news basically from Star Wars News Net. I really like those guys there. They definitely tend to be very good at cutting the wheat from the chaff and this is news, this is rumor, this is properly categorized. So we know what we're talking about and what maybe we shouldn't be talking about, or at least speculating responsibly about, so to speak. So this piece of news, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy was discussing the new film, the Rey film, the new Jedi Order film, and she had a great comment, and I'm not talking about the comment that actually surfaced later on, which we'll talk about briefly. This comment was kind of cool. She said, "I'm very thrilled about the project because I feel we're about to create something very special. We're in 2024 now, and it's about time that we had a woman come forward to shape a story in a galaxy far, far away." Now, that definitely, of course, is going to raise some cackles in our sexist part of our fan base, obviously. And I even had some people saying, well, of course, they've had Marshall Lucas was there, Bryce Dallas Howard is there. You're being disingenuous when you say that, because no matter what's going on, no matter what you want to say, yes, we've had powerful female directors and writers, et cetera, throughout the franchise. Whatever you want to say, this is the first time a woman is directing a full-fledged Star Wars feature film. You can't deny it. So that's important. And that's something worth celebrating.
These people are just mad that there's no way that you can rhyme Star Wars with she, like MCU. Like that's the only reason they're pissed off, because they're like, well, she was it doesn't, like, shut up. We have 5 minutes. Shut the fuck up.
Absolutely. And it got worse because these people decided to dig deeper. I'm not even the actual comment itself. At one point, there was a comment where Obaid-Chinoy said she liked making men uncomfortable. Whatever it was. And that's what they took that quote and ran wild with it, putting it completely out of context. When she was talking about a documentary film about people, men who were spraying acid on women in Pakistan, maybe, I think. I can't remember the exact thing. It was from like 8 years ago. It had nothing to do with her Star Wars content. It has nothing to do with anything at all. But you're going to use that as a gotcha. And instead of actually taking this film for what it's worth, taking the celebration for what we could see, and they're going to attack it. I am very happy to see Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy do this. I'm happy to see Daisy Ridley come back as Rey. I'm excited to see what this is going to be. Now, if you told me that you were concerned that Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy has not done a feature film before, she's done most of the documentaries, I can get that. I understand that concern. I do. Like, it says, like, this is a big feature film. You want someone with a lot of experience, feature film wise. That's an argument I can get behind. I feel like we had this like black or white thing where like either all on one side or all on the other. I'm trying to find this, like, not that I find a middle ground, because a lot of people aren't worth finding a middle ground for, but I don't want to say that I don't understand every aspect of it. Sure, it gives me concern, not to the point where I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be the worst thing ever, or I'm going to give this film absolutely all the credit in the world. I can't wait for it to come out. I'll be there opening day. I'm excited for it. Do I understand some hesitation about it? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's understandable, but it's not worth attacking and going like full blown red eye about it. You know what I'm
saying? Yeah. Okay. I'm throwing a counterpoint.
Sure. Absolutely.
You went to college, right?
I did.
What did you study?
I was a theater major and a psychology minor.
Are you in the theater now?
I am not.
No. Mm-hmm. I have so many friends. I have one of my best friends, a guy I grew up with, went to university, studied film and creative writing. He now works in IT in like an IT engineer job. And why is that? Because whenever he applied for a job, they said, you don't have the experience. But I have all these degrees and I have all of this. You don't have the experience. How can you do the job if you don't get the experience? Well, then who's going to get the experience?
Right. Right.
Who? What? And I'm not saying you're saying this. This is me, because I am full on. I'm coming out against all these people that are coming these bull crap. I said to you yesterday, I want blue laser eyes in every thumbnail that my image is in. This shit, because I'm sick to death of it, dude. It's just like, do you know what film also made men uncomfortable? Brokeback Mountain. Mm-hmm. How many awards did that win?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, 100%. I've never cared about that part of it. The only thing I care about technically, like I get it. Yes, you have to get experience somewhere. I would prefer a filmmaker who had cut their teeth and had a little more experience going in. Absolutely,
is not going to do a Star Wars movie, bro. Let it go.
I want it to happen.
Let it go.
I'm willing it to happen still. I'm still willing it to
go.
happen. Never.
Let it go.
I will never let
it go.
I will never let it go, no matter how much you sing Frozen. But either way, I mean, those are the comments that were made. I think we're excited. The other piece of news, which is interesting to me, which I'll drop this bit of news and then we'll talk about it later on.
You drop it and walk away.
I am. In the article, when this was actually from a few days ago, it said Obaid-Chinoy's film had not been officially dated, but the plan seems to come out on May 22nd, 2026.
Cool.
Let's leave that there for now, and we'll talk about, because I think part of our discussion about our main topic will include, like, what is our timeline? Because there's a lot going on.
If we know anything, this timeline is anything from sacred.
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm just curious what the timeline will be. I'm very actually excited to talk about what's going to happen. But
yeah,
moving on. Now, I've mentioned my son on this podcast before. He's a very big fan of animation. We've actually bonded over watching Bad Batch and Clone Wars, and he shows me a lot of anime.
I've actually just started watching Jujutsu Kaisen the other day. I've just started watching it. It's like,
I'll see if he knows that one or is into that one. He's actually a lot more into independent film or independent animation, releasing like Has Been Hotel and like these other things that he's having watched. Kind of cool stuff. Monkey Wrench was kind of cool. 3 episodes of it's like a bounty hunters in space wacky. It's kind of fun. It's very fun. But either way, he woke me up from my I usually nap before I go to work. He woke me up a little bit 10 minutes early. He's like, you got to come see this. I know you don't like being woken up, but I know you're gonna like this.
Yes.
Wow. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, sure, I'll go. And he showed me that this independent thing, I believe it's called Hello There. Actually, they had talked about doing it. They talked about doing it for a while, but they actually dropped on YouTube, Clone Wars Battle of the Heroes, a Star Wars fan animation. And what it was is they basically did what a lot of people had kind of wanted to do for a long time. They took Episode 3's battle with Anakin and Obi-Wan, and also very creatively and smartly took a scene from the unfinished one of the unfinished arcs where Anakin and Obi-Wan talk about Ahsoka having left.
Oh, is that what that's from? I was wondering
where that's from. That was a complete unfinished version. Finish that, and in that Clone Wars animation style, we get to see something that would actually be able to interjected with the finale of the Clone Wars, as it were, the Episode 3 battle done in Clone Wars animation style. They use basically the Revenge of the Sith dialogue But they also took some dialogue bits, some choices from, I believe, Lego Star Wars and things. So some of the, I don't know if they did it for differences because they wanted to change it up, or if they just thought that take was better. Either way, it was very interesting. And I got to say, I was very, very impressed. This is a fan with, I don't know how, a couple of people worked on it. It's not a big studio. This is not like Lucasfilm. This is not anything. It was damn good. It was damn good. And this is the sign of fan stuff that I could get behind. If they just do this for love, they just throw it out there. It reminded me back in the day when George Lucas would let it require fans to push things like troops and things like that. This just worked for me on every level. And I'm someone who liked Revenge of the Sith a lot. It's my second favorite Star Wars film. Love watching the live action, but it is very interesting to see this style after watching Clone Wars for so long and falling in love with Clone Wars and the Siege of Mandalore arc, especially for that part. I absolutely adore it. Did you get a chance to watch it? What did you think about it?
I did watch it, and I'm going to say, as a piece of art, I thought it was great. As a homage to Revenge of the Sith, the Battle of the Heroes, whichever they took from the Lego Star Wars stuff, that was great. It was very, very impressive and very, very well done. Some of the lightsaber bits, I was a bit like, oh, they look a bit too bendy wendy there. But again, it's fan made. They're not obviously going to have the full on budget of Lucasfilm, so it's not going to be something that as I say, it's not going to be something that I'm going to go copy a YouTube section, comment, and put all over the internet.
Right.
My one thing is this, and it's something I had to check myself. We can't. How do I put this? Because I want to be fair about this. We can't criticize one person for using AI and not getting the permission of the original. And this is not me defending that person. Lily, the last person I'm willing to defend. We just need to be careful. I think it's more of a cautionary thing of where do we draw these lines? Because if we're going to criticize one person for doing it, we also need to say to everyone else, hey, be careful with using this stuff. Because I'm sure with copyright and everything, there's no way that video is going to be monetized or making any money, right? But at the same time, I'm just rule for one cannot be rule for another. We have to. We can say, yeah, this is great. This is a fantastic piece of art, which it is. I wish that I had the talent to be able to make something like that, and I would trust me, I would love to see the movies redone in animation, because I think that would be a fantastic way to pull the younger generation into watching the movies. Because let's face it, a lot of younger kids are probably going to be like, oh, we sit down watching these, or especially when I'm older, when I'm your age. I imagine my kids are going to be like, Dad, why are we watching these movies that were old when you were our age?
Right.
I think it could be a good way to pull in the younger generation if they did do something like that. All I'm saying is the use of Matt Lanter's voice and the use of James Arnold Taylor's voice, whether they gave permission or not, I don't know. If they did, great. All I'm saying is we need to be careful with how this technology gets used.
I see what you're saying, and I don't disagree. I remember thinking the same things. I saw obviously the other issue that I want to talk about came out at the same time, similar time. My argument, or the way I look at it, is the other side was using someone's likeness in a new story, almost as if it was a new thing, a new story that they approved of that story. This is basically using footage that's already out there. They're not trying to say it's new things. And I think that's a big lie for me. If you're going to use somebody for a new story, I think that's where this permission needs to get in. For something like this, which is obviously taken from something, source material that's already there, already out there. There's not somebody trying to surprise you or take one over on you. The only new bits were animated, I believe, without vocals at this point, I think, because because obviously in episode 3 it cuts back between the different battles or whatever, and this is just the whole battle, and so we get a couple of new shots that they created to kind of piece together the set pieces, so to speak. But that's just pure animation, and that's just animated that was styled. So I think for me, that's where the line, and it's a gray line because we're all still discovering what is and what isn't. This is what the strikes, half the strikes are all about, right? I mean, it's part of the thing we're trying to figure out. I know I'm not the person to make that decision. We can only kind of make that decision as far as what we see, and without any authoritative stance. That's my own personal line. That's still developing.
I think that's the thing. I think that's the point I'm trying to get across, right? Is that like the person that I'm referring to, there is no way on God's green earth or Satan's fiery lake that I would ever defend a day in my life.
Right.
These guys seem to have done this with good intention, paying homage to something that they love. Mm-hmm. And my thing is, studios watch stuff like this.
Oh, yeah.
And if they start to be like, oh, fans love this stuff. Like, if fans are okay with us doing stuff like this, let's just start doing it. And it's just like, whoa, pump the brakes. We didn't say we're okay with people not getting paid.
Right.
I guess it's just like my whole thing with AI in general. I'm just like, I really do want people to be
careful,
cautious. Like I remember I was listening to Christopher Nolan. He was talking with a panel of physicists, and he was saying how he's talking to a bunch of people in Silicon Valley, and at the moment they're kind of having their Oppenheimer moment with AI. So it's just kind of like, let's celebrate the art, of course. It's as I keep saying, this is a great piece of art. It was so well done. I was sitting there like, man, did these guys do the rest of the movie? Can I watch the whole thing? But at the same time, I'm also like, we need to be careful. We need to be very careful because the studios are watching.
Right. And so should be the artists in a way to make sure they're getting their proper due as well. I get it. I do agree. In this case, I'm okay with it for this particular piece. And I think your miles may vary. And I think we have to decide these things bit by bit because everything is different. How you're using things are different. What needs to be done, what needs to be done. We're still in development on that. I think it's going to be a long time before we come up with anything that's kind of solid at this point. And every rule will have an exception, as you know. So yeah, it is what it is. But overall, I just want to highlight that specifically. I loved it. My son loved it. And
as I say, I think it's great.
All right, next bit of news we got our very own Ezra Bridger, live action Ezra Bridger, Eman of Esfandi was also talking about potentially his future in Star Wars because as of the moment of this article, Ahsoka season 2 was still in development, was still not greenlit. Yes, we're going to get to all that later on. Officially.
I think it was greenlit. Yeah, it was probably greenlit. We just didn't know about it.
Officially. But he was asked about his involvement in future Star Wars style storytelling. And he had a couple different things to say. I'll read the quotes to you. Including a potential season 2 and the film, I think I'd be very involved from everything I've learned about Star Wars and what's canon at the moment, and the way Dave and everyone seems to be writing and moving forward. I think Ezra plays a very pivotal role, which is exciting. As a human, you're like, I get to act, I get to do the thing that I like, I'll have a job. But story-wise, it also feels correct. It feels like, yeah, they should use him. He'd be a really good person to use for this or that. After the announced movie and potential season 2, I actually don't know. If I do a second season, I'll be happy. If we also do the movie, I'll be so happy. And I would never need more than that. I'm like Harrison Ford in that way. I don't need Ezra's story to just live forever. This guy's a gem. This guy's the kind of guy you want in like your franchises that you like. I
don't know about the Harrison Ford comparison. Let's pump the brakes on that. But,
yeah, well, fair. That's fair.
He's a guy that like I could fully imagine him like a random little kid in the street, like pointing, being like, "Oh my god, it's you, it's Ezra," and like I can't see him like stopping and being like, "All right, whatever I'm about to do doesn't matter. I need to talk to this kid." Right? And he's like, I could see him like putting on the voice of Ezra and like talking like Ezra and acting like Ezra for a little kid. He's just like he seems like a really good, I don't want to say ambassador, but like a really good ambassador for Star Wars and for the fandom, like someone that like I would want to talk to. I would want Eman Esfandi at my barbecue.
Absolutely, that's the best way to put it.
He would get invited to the barbecue.
100%, because he just seems to have it. I mean, you don't have to have an actor who appreciates the franchise they're in. Like that's something that's kind of overblown in terms of they need to be fans. They need to know it. They don't need to. But man, it's kind of nice when they do, because kind of when they feel like it's one of you up there, and you know that they care about their role, they care about this character like that. That is definitely an added bonus. And what he's saying is pretty duh. I would think with Dave writing things and Dave in charge and Dave being the kingpin of Ezra at this point, Ezra's probably second only to Ahsoka, really, honestly, and Dave in the Dave hierarchy, I believe. I could be wrong, but it feels like as we watch Ahsoka season 2, I mean, Ahsoka season 1 was all about getting him back. So that would make sense that he is a linchpin for the story moving forward involving Thrawn and probably the Republic. So that would make absolute sense to me. I have a feeling he knows very well that he's in season 2. I think he knows very well he's in the movie already. He might not know the particulars, but I think he knows. Yeah, just right for me, Dave. I'm coming back. I'll be there. The thing after the movie, I think they all don't know what's going on. I think they're all at this point haven't even considered what's happening after the Dave Filoni movie. I think it's like, let's build all our pieces and get to there, and then say, exactly.
Like,
let's see what we're doing there.
Who knows? And I'm gonna push back on your hierarchy of Filoniness, because as I found out on a podcast you produce, blah with Katie Sackhoff, with her conversation with Sam Witwer, which my co-host here produces. I had no idea Bo-Katan was based off of Filoni's wife.
I did not know that either. I learned that as well. I don't know. Just so you know, I don't know producers, but I don't know if I have a title, so I don't want to say I am a producer.
I'm saying you're a producer.
You did say I am, but I am saying I don't know. I don't have a title. I just work with her and Christian on it. So
I'm saying you're the producer because you produce every other fucking reactionary.
Just clarify.
You are the man of a million streams at this point.
Just want to clarify, this is not me speaking. I'm not speaking out of turn. I can't control Matty Gunner. So
I am saying this. Okay, no, this is not Paul saying this. I'm saying I found out on the show that you are involved with. This is me like saying Paul is involved with the show, so go fucking watch it.
She's a sweetheart. You should actually watch her show. Regardless, she's going to have a lot of cool guests coming up. I know you can tell right from the video has an intro of her, so I can reveal this now. She's got Ming Na Wen coming up as well.
I didn't see that.
So she's got a lot of cool things coming up as well. There's a lot of cool interviews she's already had in the can, ready to go. So very, very exciting to see where that show goes. But this time, what we're interview, brilliant, loved it.
But I would say it would go Ahsoka and the character based on his wife.
That's fair. Okay, that's fair. For different reasons. Okay.
It may not be true, but that's the order I'm pretty sure he's going to say in public.
That's the order that is, the husband has to say, yes, for sure. All right. Next bit of news. This is a small one of those dumb moments we hear from now and again, but I know that this person definitely has a big place in your heart. Director Chad Stahleski has expressed interest in Star Wars. Mr. Stahleski, of course, best known probably for the John Wick franchise. Now, he stated in the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast with Josh.
Great podcast, by the way. I love that show.
Another great podcast. He's wonderful. Stahleski. That's one I don't have anything to do with, by the way. So,
Not yet. He was on the Schmodown, so I'm pretty sure he will be in touch at some point.
You never know. That's true. Shimano's got me a lot. I have to give credit to for Christian for helping me working with him, and has gotten me a lot of different opportunities, which is great. So Stahleski quoted, "I am a Star Wars guy. The first Star Wars changed my life. Maybe someday out there, Disney, if you're listening, hit me in a couple of years. I have a couple of takes for Star Wars." Josh asked him, "Do you have your idea or two?" And Stahleski said, "Yes, I do. Yeah, I'd take a swing at that." That made me stop and think. It always makes you stop and think, because you can sit down and go, you talked like before, God, Denis Villeneuve's never joking around me. I love Denis Villeneuve, so I'd love to see it happen. I don't constantly think of directors unless I'm asked for a podcast or something, but I love when I hear about a director saying they have ideas. That makes me start thinking, well, what would that be? What does that mean for Star Wars? What could they do in Star Wars? I got to tell you, we need something like a Chad Stahleski Star Wars film. I would love a John Wick Star Wars film. We already have Donnie Yen in one. We could definitely do something along those lines. So Right?
Stop.
No, I'm just saying.
A Chirrut and Bays movie
Prequel
or
movie or
Chirrut
something
and
like that.
Bays series. Oh my god. Or a Chirrut movie that's kind of like It Man. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Hell, make you bring Keanu along, and Keanu can be in it as well. We can have
You get my Keanu fan cast as Darth Revan.
I know, right? That can absolutely
happen. Okay. Do you want to know why I love this idea of Chad coming in and doing a Star Wars movie?
Talk to me.
Because finally, some of you morons will learn what real choreography is, as opposed to just spinning poles around and hoping that they hit something and twirling around and like turning your back. Like if you turned your back to me in a fight, I'm going to kill you. So all the spinny loop-de-loop, yeah, the Obi-Wan spin, yeah, it looks cool, right? But doing it for like 10 minutes straight of a fight sequence is A, impractical, 2, looks stupid, 3, you can have the looking like a dance of like the Crouching Tiger and the old Wuxia movies and the old martial arts movies. Chad Stahleski can do that all day.
Right.
But with him putting in the practical side of things, it doesn't even have to be a lightsaber fight. It could be like the gun jitsu that he's created with John Wick, but with blasters.
Star Wars blaster foo. Come on, why not? Absolutely.
Some actual like practical combat. Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Because not only would I love that, being a martial artist and being someone who like, I've done videos on this channel, I've done videos on other channels, like breaking down fight scenes. Like I read that shit literally like Matrix code.
Right.
So I would love to get like that in depth, because a fight should tell part of the story. You hear the passion in my voice right now. Obviously, I love this stuff. The fight should tell part of the story. It shouldn't just be like, ooh, look at me, I can twirl a pole around and let's put a lightsaber effect on it to look cool. No, they look stupid. Like what emotion are you, if there's two people fighting to the death, I don't want it to look pretty. I want to see two people trying to take each other's heads off. And that's what was so great about Battle of the Heroes, because I put this online the other day. A good friend Molly Damon posted about this, and I replied, and I go, "Oh boy, did I get some shit for it!" But it was great, because I don't know much about anything, right? But if there's one thing I know, it's about fighting.
1,000%.
And I was just like, what are you telling me with that? Like, where's the emotion? Give me a reason for the violence. If you are a Jedi, violence is your absolute last resort. So give me the reason why. Give me the emotion behind it to make a Jedi, a pacifist, be like, okay, this is it. This is
right.
This is my last resort. I have to fight. Give me that reason. Don't just give me, woo, look at me, twirly, twirly, cool. No, bin off with that stuff.
So interestingly, I'm kind of curious, like, where do some Star Wars lightsaber fights fall on scale for you then? If I name them, what would you say? If I say the true Battle of the Heroes, Hayden Ewan.
That's good, because hear me out. That is a master and a student. It's like the old school, right? My style versus. Actually, I'd say that's more fan. We'll get to that. That's more Duel of the Fates. But it's like the master and the student. Obi-Wan taught Anakin everything he knew, and Anakin's there like, I'm going to kill you. I'm not looking to harm you or just beat you in a duel. I'm going to kill you with the very skills that you taught me. Like, you created this, like, from everything from the rage down to the fighting. You created me, and I'm going to kill you with the very creation that you made.
Okay. About Baylan and Ahsoka.
Could have done without, but I think that's the whole point. A lot of people are like, why was that too short? Because Ahsoka didn't need that fight at that time. That fight is probably going to come. Okay. That the big duel between those two is probably going to happen. So it was a nice little tease, but also Baylan was in the way. Ahsoka didn't have a reason to kill Baylan. Again, she's a Jedi, and the whole point of that show was her becoming remembering what it is to become a Jedi, of being that I don't need violence. Like, it's a last resort. I'll do it to stop Thrawn, but this guy, I don't need to fight you, Balin. I've got bigger things to worry about now. Let me just get gone, get past you, and get gone.
Last one, and I'll move on. Kylo versus Rey in Episode 7, and you can talk about Finn as well. Kylo versus Finn and Rey in continuation.
I think Kylo versus Finn is, I don't know, how do I put this? It's very much like Kylo asserting his dominance over the situation, because he has spent his entire life trying to become Vader, being told that you are going to become what is Snoke says, right? He's a new darker Vader.
Yep.
And Kylo is probably in his head, he's like, no, I'm better. No, I'm going to be more powerful, because he's a Sith. The Sith deal in absolutes. Like, he doesn't want to be the new Darth. But yeah, he wants to take influence from his grandfather. He's his grandfather. Of course he does. But he wants to be the Kylo Ren. He wants to be the supreme leader.
Right.
So, of course, he's going to want to assert his dominance. With Rey, I feel like that was more of like a dance between the two. I feel that was more, probably didn't need it. Probably could have cut it down a little bit and just been like, this girl, she's good. But it also showcased Rey's potential. As Snoke said, you were bested by a girl who's never even wielded a lightsaber.
Right.
That says to me who, and that's the whole question leading up to when we found out who Rey was. It was like, who is this girl? Like, she took on, instead of being like, oh my God, such a Mary Sue, she beat Kylo Ren without even training. It should be like, who the hell is this girl?
I never got that argument either, to me, because, like, I mean, Rey is someone who'd fought her whole life as a scavenger junk. She had obviously had that staff. She had some kind of forms. She doesn't like show much against an injured Kylo Ren, who's injured. And Kylo's trying to discover almost like who she is. He feels the Force coming off her. He knows there's something there. He's kind of like, I think he's more testing, kind of like Vader and Luke in Episode 5. He's not like going after her to kill her. He's going after her to like to unlock this and see what's going on. I think if he went all out, he probably could have killed her, but he's trying to unlock her dark side. He wants her to be his apprentice. He wants to see what's going on. And yeah, she's got some rage in her, and she's got her power, and she can get lucky a little bit here and there. I don't think it was a case of her being better than Kylo Ren. I think she got lucky a few times, and she channeled the Force, and she channeled some power in her. Especially the dark side that we see later on in a way. So I never really understood that argument, to be honest with you.
And the reason I say Duel of the Fates is the best, because to me, that's the one that calls back to the old wuxia and the martial arts styles. Not only do you have the story and everything wrapped up in it, it is very much Obi-Wan, Darth Maul, my style versus your style. Like Shaolin Tiger versus Flying Crane or whatever. It's very much like two completely different styles matching each other blow for blow. And I'm just like, oh my God, give me that.
Right.
Every fight in Star Wars tells some kind of a story. Absolutely. And that is the Kurosawa influence on George Lucas, because I've watched every Akira Kurosawa movie from start to finish multiple times.
Right.
Every fight has a story, has a reason.
Right.
And that's something that George has pulled in, that Dave has pulled in. Like, every 100%. Fight tells part of the story.
100%. I totally agree with you on that. So, all right, before we could talk about this for hours, but we still have some news bits we want to go through.
Don't be coming after me when it comes to fighting. To quote the great Roger Mayweather, most people don't know shit about fighting.
Well, this is definitely a future topic of conversation we'll have. I think
hell yeah, ranking
like his fights with that. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Next up, Benioff and Weis had made some comments for the first time in a long time about their canceled film. Quote them. I don't actually remember. I didn't write down who said it, so I don't know if it's Benioff or Weis. We wanted to do The First Jedi, basically how the Jedi Order came to be, why it came to be the first lightsaber. Lucasfilm ended up not wanting to do a First Jedi story. We had a very specific story in mind, and ultimately they decided they didn't want to do that. And we totally get it. It's their company and their IP, but we weren't the droids they were looking for. I don't know if I just don't know if they've watched or any news or anything like that, but yet I believe James Mangold's film basically is that. So I don't think it's that. I honestly think, guys, I don't think it's the story that they rejected. I kind of think it was you, not them.
I think they do know, because they even made that little quip of, "We were not the droids that they were looking for."
Right.
I think they're self-aware enough. Which, by the way, I used to think that it was one person called Benioff and Weis. Like, when I first heard the name, I used to think his name was Benioff and Weis.
That's funny.
I was like, "Oh, who's this Benioff and Weis?" No, it's Benioff and Weis.
Right.
But like, okay, sorry guys, you didn't get the gig.
I mean,
Jimmy Mango did.
I mean, quite frankly, let's to call a spade away. I hate saying it, but like, there was the backlash, obviously, after Game of Thrones season 8 that everybody
haven't seen it.
like.
I'm not that far yet.
I'm not gonna spoil it at all. I'm just saying that it's not a surprise or spoiler that it was very divisive. Is a nice word for it. Most people hated it, and I always thought I thought it was overhated myself. I know why people hate it. I don't disagree with why they hate it, but it also feels like, I mean, here the basic gist of this, again, not spoiler, is the fact that a lot of people think that they were kind of on their way out for their deal with Netflix, for their deal with Star Wars, and they kind of like rushed the ending a little bit. Part of it's also they didn't have the source material. They still don't have the source material for the books. The books still aren't even close to being done. I don't know if they'll ever be done at this point, to be completely honest. But I did feel like they left to do Star Wars, and then Star Wars rejected them after season 8 got panned. It's like they were ready to do it. Season 8 gets panned, and all of a sudden they're not doing Star Wars anymore. It's not the first time that has happened. Patty Jenkins, after Wonder Woman 84, was also booted. Whether or not it had to do with the Wonder Woman 84, we don't know. We are not there. That's the narrative that is kind of out there publicly. That's never been denied. I hate assuming that, but what is factual, Wonder Woman 84 came out and was destroyed. Game of Thrones season 8 come out and was destroyed. Not too long after, both of their Star Wars projects disappeared. Yeah. Are there a correlation? That we don't know for sure, but I understand why people would look at that and go, 1 + 1 = 2.
I hate that though, and I'm not saying that you agree, but like, lightning doesn't strike in the same place twice. You're not going to throw a perfect game every game, right? Sometimes you're going to have some misses. And for a studio like Lucasfilm to have the misguidedness to be like, all right, you had an off night, we're going to pull you from the next game. I'm just like, what did we lose? We lost Rogue Squadron, bro.
Yeah,
we lost Rogue Squadron because of one movie that people thought was bad.
Right.
We're gonna lose a whole Rogue Squadron. What about it? No Top Gun in space. The thought of Tom Cruise, of course now Tom Cruise is with Warner Bros. Is probably not gonna happen anyway. But the possibility of Tom Cruise in Star Wars gone.
Yeah. Because
one movie was like not as great as the one that came before it, and now actually I'm not even going to go with Daniel Weiss because James Mangold's doing it, and in my opinion that is kind of an upgrade. So
yeah, exactly.
I think we did look out on that one.
Right. I will also put it out there. I mean, to make the comment on it without letting go, is that there is, again, this might have been an assassination piece put out by someone, I don't know, but there was a narrative floated that Patty Jenkins was very difficult to work with. That she kind of,
she's an absolute.
No, absolutely. I'm just saying that might have had something to do with maybe Lucasfilm was developing things and they kind of started butting heads over things, and maybe that had to do with it as well. See, you have that kind of situation, and then your movie tanks, then it becomes easier to go, all right, yeah, we'll see you sometime in the future, kind of thing, potentially. I do hate that we lost Rogue One. I would love to have seen Rogue Squadron, Rogue One. I wish we could have seen Rogue Squadron. That would have been a cool. I think it's a great TV series waiting to happen. To be completely honest with you, that's what I'd like to see. I would like to see a Wedge Antilles led Rogue Squadron, and maybe involve Poe as well, potentially down the line. I think that'd be great. But back to Benioff and Weis. They can say what they want at this point. I think we all know that given the facts that we know, Game of Thrones sucks. Season 8 sucks, reportedly for most people. Not me, but for most people. Then all of a sudden they're off the film. They're claiming it's because Lucasfilm didn't want to do their idea. Here, James Mangold is doing their idea. Lucasfilm was all for it. Yeah, it's an interesting point of contention. At this point.
I mean, it can't be. As Qui-Gon said, it's no such thing as chance.
Right. Okay. Next up, some positive news for sure. Again, this was on Star Wars Newsnet, and we're going to classify this as a rumor. It is not anything official about it yet at this point. You are friends with the Star Wars Sessions podcast members.
Yes, May, Luke, love you boys.
I have not had the pleasure of meeting them. I've not had the pleasure of much of listening to their podcast.
We'll have them on the show.
Okay,
we'll for sure have them on the show.
And the only reason probably I haven't listened to their podcast yet is you said it before, I'm a man of a million streams doing a lot of work. The only Star Wars podcast I've got a chance to really listen to is Ken, because I'm friends with Ken and Joseph and everything else. I'd like to listen to more podcasts as I get more time to do so. And this is one I would actually take a chance on because they're your friends and you've always had great things to say about them. But during one of their last episodes, I don't know exactly what the episode was. I wish I could have it in front of me, but I don't. I apologize. They were discussing the future of Star Wars, et cetera, et cetera. And they seem to imply, again, maybe they don't know, and if I'm speaking out of turn, I apologize. This is how it comes off in the news report as well. But they seem to imply that Tales of the Jedi was going to be getting some kind of follow-up outside of season 2. Obviously, we know season 2 is coming in 2024, but there's going to be some kind of spin-offs that would fall outside of the existing Jedi-focused format, meaning potentially something like a Tales of the Sith, Tales of the Bounty Hunters, Tales of the thing. And to me, that passes my smell check every time because I actually pitched something like this a while ago. I talked about it. I think this is the great way to do it.
We talked about it on the show.
On this very show, I said that's the smart way to do. We could have Tales of the Bounty Hunters. We could have Tale of the Pirates, Tale of the Underworld, Tale of anything, Tale of Sith, as we mentioned this before. So the fact that they're thinking the same way does not shock me. For the quotes, I'll give you the exact quotes that we have. Luke said, it's hard to come out and confirm stuff and things, but I think we're going to be seeing more Tales of projects. So I don't think that's ending anytime soon. Matt said, again, we've heard Tales of something, and it ain't Jedi, and it sounds pretty cool. And if it comes to fruition, I think that people are going to lose their minds if it is what we've heard. But conjecture, speculation aside, if we do get a Tales of the Jedi season 2, I hope we get meaningful little vignettes like they got with the Dooku one, which I agree, by the way. Matt then says later on, I predicted that the Tales of the series is going to get a new. This is later on the podcast talking about what they hope they're going to get. I predicted Tales of the series is going to get a new installment, whether it's Tales of the Sith or Tales of the Bounty Hunters or something to shake it up a little bit. Sure, Luke's snickering in the background. I think we're going to get something new because you could get a little stale if it's just Jedi. And Luke said playfully, is that a prediction, Mr. Hudson, or is that a scoop? And Matt said, what? It's a prediction. Okay, all right. So it feels like they're going to.
Luke's a funny boy. Luke's funny. Those guys brought a hell of a party too. Through one of the after party celebration in London, and I went and I got very merry, and it was pretty damn good. Yeah, these guys, I trust. If these guys tell me something, I trust them, and because they are like us, they love this stuff. Like they go to like random toy collector conventions and get interviews with like random actors that were like you would think who the fuck is this person, and then you look and it's just like a random character that's like a glove show, and then you're just like, whoa, cool. Like they are like legit diehard fans of this stuff. They love it just as much as we do. But they also, come at it from an angle of like, we question everything. Like as much as we love this, let's back away from it. And that's why I respect their opinions as much as I do. Other than them being great guys. So if they saying something like this, yeah, cool. I'm all for it.
I'm sure.
I actually just messaged them saying, we're talking about you on the show right now. You better come on as a guest.
Just to clarify, it is Star Wars in 2024. It's episode 230 on their podcast. feed if you want to check it out. I did listen to that section of it. I did enjoy their takes, and they seem to be great guys, and they seem to be people who are not trying to get a scoop or get anything over anybody. It just seems more like they have heard something. It's cool. And we all hear it in our space with Do Who Deal. We always kind of hear these things that happen potentially. Sometimes they pan out. Sometimes they don't. I hope that this pans out because this makes a lot of sense to me. Plus, it just means more animation from Star Wars. And Star Wars animated, I got to be honest with you, it's my favorite part of Star Wars since Disney came out. I think I got to say the Clone Wars stuff, the Bad Batch stuff. Probably some of my favorite Star Wars storytelling we've gotten. So I'm always happy to see some more along those lines. So it just makes sense to me as well. And plus, for us, it makes a lot of sense. You know why? We could get a Tales of the Pirates and get a Hondo Ohnaka arc.
My God.
Right?
Oh,
right? Makes sense. Yeah. It makes sense. So, all right. We're almost there, listeners. Stay tuned. You can do it. You can stay with us. We're almost at the big piece of news. One more piece of news.
It's the first show of the year. Like you can stick with us if we go a little bit long.
We got one more piece of news before we get to the big two piece of news, or 1 and 1A. This one I wanted to lead into it. This is just an interesting piece of news for me. I kind of was surprised by it. I'm not sure why. According to an analytics firm, Mandalorian was 2023's most watched original series.
Yes, I heard about this.
You wouldn't think so, given everything that we've been hearing. All the numbers are bad, numbers are declining, yada, yada, yada. Star Wars is dying. Number one most original show. And it beat out such shows as Only Murders in the Building, The Bear, Ted Lasso, Black Mirror, like The Witcher. All these ones were all beaten by The Mandalorian.
Do you know how good The Bear is?
And Ahsoka came in ninth. So I was just, I guess I would just like that goes to show don't buy into all the gloom and doom sometimes, because quite frankly, like, wow, that's what we got. Okay. So I love Ted Lasso. That's been very much in the landscape of everybody. I think The Bear has been a big in the zeitgeist kind of story.
Even just Jeremy Allen White's Calvin Klein commercial.
I lost my camera for a second.
That's okay. Oh my God. I'm by myself.
And we're back. I don't know what happened. I don't know. Somebody's trying to assault us. Somebody's trying to take us down. They cut.
It was because we mentioned Jeremy Allen White in his underwear.
That what it was?
YouTube is just like, no way. You guys are not adding to this fire right now.
Fair enough. All right. So that was the end of the piece of news pretty much at this point, though, is that I was pleasantly surprised, and it says how well Mandalorian Season 3 actually did as far as viewership goes, which leads us into the piece of news that dropped.
Can I just quickly say this caveat? This, to me, is the most beautiful validation of the people that you watch, and I'm speaking to the royal you, the people that you watch that tell you all this gloom and doom stuff, that Kathleen Kennedy's job is at risk, that Star Wars is turning into the MCU, that everything is going to pot. You don't know a fucking thing.
Absolutely.
2 Star Wars shows in the top 10. No. Star Wars isn't dying. Star Wars is doing just
fine. And now we will get a big test, so to speak. Dropped out of kind of nowhere yesterday. Star Wars and Lucasfilm fully announced, not just like teased anything, dropped. This is a full-on press release and announced that a new theatrical film titled The Mandalorian and Grogu is coming from director Jon Favreau. Johnny Favreau. Now, this was a rumor back in like the summer. I'll give credit to, I believe Jeff Snyder actually said that they were considering making season 4 into a movie. And it was kind of debunked. And then it kind of came back again with Bespin Bulletin, mentioned something to that effect at one point. So we weren't sure if it was going back and forth. Now, I'm going to read the entire press release. It's a short one. It's actually just for accuracy's sake. Let's read the whole thing.
I like Mandalorian. It's short, sweet, to the point. Keep them
absolutely up. The Mandalorian Season 2, The Mandalorian and Grogu are embarking on a new adventure to movie theaters. Directed by Jon Favreau and produced by Favreau, Kathleen Kennedy, and Dave Filoni, The Mandalorian and Grogu will go into production in 2024. Quote, I have loved telling stories set in the rich world that George Lucas created, said Favreau. The prospect of bringing the Mandalorian and his apprentice Grogu to the big screen is extremely exciting. New quote, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have ushered into Star Wars 2 new and beloved characters, and this new story is a perfect fit for the big screen, added Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm. The Mandalorian and Grogu will lead Lucasfilm's ongoing feature development slate, including films held by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, James Mangold, and Dave Filoni, who is also currently developing Ahsoka Season 2 among those in the works. This is the way. A whole lot of news there in a short, sweet piece.
Did you read the Deadline article that came out?
I was just about to add that in the Deadline article, they said, and I quote, at present, a Mandalorian Season 4 is actually, I can't quote, it's actually, sorry, to paraphrase, I don't have it in front of me, but at present, those words were specifically used. Mandalorian Season 4 is still in development as well, or still on the books, or something to that effect.
Yeah. In development was the word.
Okay, so let's break this down. A bunch of different things we have to talk about, first of all. So we have a couple pieces of news here. First of all, I like the fact, actually, I'm going to go towards the end and say that this is not taking away from any of the announced films of celebrations. We had the Rey movie by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, we had the first Jedi, Dawn of the Jedi from James Mangold, and we had the Dave Filoni Mandoverse movie. All three of those were announced at Celebration. People came on and everything else. None of these are canceled. These are still in development. I find it interesting now, though. We still also have, by the way, in that nebulous talked about thing, the Taika Waititi movie, the Sean Levy movie, a couple pieces down the line. Benioff Weis is canceled. That's for sure. That's been done. That's definitely canceled.
Are we sure? You sure about that? Are you sure about that?
They have said they're canceled, so that's canceled. The other one they still have said
the Ryan Johnson trilogy.
That's still technically on the books, not canceled.
Who else is there?
A bunch. There's a lot of people in the works, but either way. So I'm happy that they confirm that this is not, despite what some YouTubers might tell you, this is not replacing the Rey movie. This is not like the Rey movie is going away. This is in addition to. With that being said, it does say this is going to lead the slate, which means this is the movie that's coming out first. Thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on this movie being the one to come out first?
Yeah, duh. You know how much money The Mandalorian made them? Well, it kicked off their entire streaming platform. Of course, it's going to, I would love to believe that Johnny Favs just walked into Lucasfilm, walked into Kathy Kennedy's office, Cubano in hand, said, Kathy, I heard you guys need a movie. I got you. And the man has a great track record when it comes to making movies about dudes in metal suits. Something he's quite good at doing.
Right.
He is an actor. This is another thing that Katie said on her show. Like, he's good with working with actors because he was one. So it just seems to me, yeah, duh. This is perfect. It's the perfect choice because it gives them more. Because we talked about when the Rey movie production got announced that we felt it was a bit too soon. It was a bit, they were maybe rushing into a little bit of it. This gives them a little bit more time to go work out the finer details, maybe do a final revision if they need to, work out any kinks that they may have, so they don't have to keep going and doing these reshoots, which is another problem that we talked about. Gives them that bit more time to really hammer in the story so they can be like, The Mandalorian, that's going to make money no matter what.
Right.
We can now take these other projects that we're working on that we're going to go watch, but maybe aren't necessarily as much of a sure thing. Because a lot of people, there's been a lot of movies last year that should have made a lot more money than they did. and they didn't. Because people just don't go to the cinema as much anymore. That doesn't speak to the quality of a film. It's just something that not a lot of people do anymore. The Mandalorian, that's a sure thing to make money. Not just for the movie, but the Grogu toys and everything that comes with it. That movie's going to make them money to the point where they could be like, okay, this may not even be good, but we know it's going to make money, so it's going to cover us. Do I like that? No. I don't like that way of thinking. That might not be their way of thinking. But to me, how quick this has come out, it does smell a little bit of that corporate
reactivity.
Start making money now. And I don't like that because it says to me that Bob Iger is full of shit about the quality over quantity thing, because now we have this one moment Star Wars movies need to be events, right? Now it's just, we're just going to throw out a movie of the biggest part of the franchise that we've seen in the last 5-10 years.
Right. Let me add on to this. I will say the cynical side, I hate thinking like this, but I do have a cynical side. And when Celebration hit, all the news, again, we're not inside the studios. This is where speculation can harm us. And this is where we sometimes maybe don't know things that we should know. We can only comment on what we know and what's put out there, and then there's speculation out there. But the way the tea leaves were read, the map was kind of drawn. We had this announcement about the Rey movie, the Mango movie, and the Filoni movie. And even though nothing was dated, no dates were announced as far as which film was going where, we had these vague, originally 2025, 2027, 2029, and there was shifted to 2026, 2 in 2026 because of strikes and everything else. But there was never a clear, this is Rey is happening here, Filoni's happening here, Mangold's happening here. But as we read the tea leaves, it's kind of like, okay, well, we know Mangold has a couple of films to make that he's actually working on. We know Filoni needs to, if his movie is really the end of the Mandoverse / Heir to the Empire, they have a couple series, TV series that they're going to build up into that. So he has some time. We knew that the Stephen Knight was rewriting the script for the Rey film, and that it was supposed to go into production, et cetera, et cetera. So it kind of felt like, okay, so it looks like Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy's Rey film is going to be the first out of the gate. That's how it read the whole time. It's also probably the most controversial of the, and I hate saying that word, but controversial of the films, because James Mangold, even though he faced some backlash because people didn't like Dial of Destiny as much as other people, I loved it. Some people didn't. He got a little backlash about that. Filoni is kind of a mostly, I don't want to say universally loved, but he's probably the most loved person at Lucasfilm as far as all the fans go, even the negative Nancy types.
Yeah, those that have their theories.
Yep, absolutely. Now, Obaid-Chinoy, though, and her men, quote unquote, men issues or whatever, and the fact that episodes 7, 8, and 9 were divisive. Again, I that's not, I like them. I like the films. I'm not backlashing them. And I know a lot of people do love those films, but they were divisive. It definitely makes sense that this film was probably the most polarizing film of the slate announced. Did the studio see that and go, we can't have that be the first film to come back from Star Wars?
Yeah, I did think about that.
We can't have this be the first film back after Rise of Skywalker. We need a more surefire, unifying thing. And what's been the most unifying piece of Star Wars media that we have had since Disney bought Star Wars? Mandalorian. Season 3 aside, which has been a little hit and miss, it's still overall, that's the IP that has been the biggest for Star Wars. So I kind of feel like the studio is like, we have to hit a home run. So I'm hoping that Jon Favreau wanted to do this. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping Jon Favreau wanted to do this, and he's not being pushed a little bit to do it, which would be my concern. Because if he's pushed to do it, that's not going to be as good. I'm hoping that he got asked and was like, "What about this? What do you think?" He maybe went, "Yeah, I'll bring it to this big screen." Even if it wasn't his idea, if he was like, "Yeah, sure, I think that'd be kind of cool. It'd be a lot of fun." If that's the case, I think we're fine. And I think we will be fine because he loves the story and he loves telling movies. He likes making movies, so I think we'll be fine that way as well.
Yeah.
But I can't help but cynically think that way and be like, I hope that's not the case. But at the same time, I almost understand that you do want to have a more definitively bigger hit after the divisiveness of Rise of Skywalker. Let's have a home run hit, and then we can tell everything else we want. So it's kind of actually similar to what you're saying, just a little different viewpoint from the studio about it. To a degree.
Yeah, and it also is almost like a tragedy to me because it's like, look how far they've come from. God, I can't believe I'm saying this because I sound like one of those fucking channels. Look how far we've come from George's original vision, right? If this was George, like, he would have trusted Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy.
Yeah.
And he would have said, whatever you want to do, go for it. Like, make it as wild and as crazy. This movie's for kids. This movie's to inspire hope. Tell your story about what that means to you.
Right.
And for her, I'm fully expecting this kind of awesome, almost kind of like the old Salem witch trials. When I look at the Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy's, like, her idea, that's what kind of stands out to me. Kind of like a Salem witch hunt, but for Rey and the new Jedi, whatever she wants to build, kind of a deal. That really intrigues me because as someone who's like, I'm pretty vindicative of the Jedi. So like, that's something that I'm probably going to relate to and I'm probably going to enjoy on that, on that angle. But I'm just like, Lucasfilm, you bring in these creators, right? You bring in these people, put your faith in them, like, go all in and just be like, look, let the chips fall where they may. It's not like Disney's hemorrhaging money anytime soon. So what do they have to lose by saying, oh, we got a Rey movie. Cool. Let's put it out first. See what happens.
Yeah. I get it. And I understand. And I agree. I don't want to be in negative Nancy. I don't want to bring anybody down because I know there's a lot of people out there excited about it. And we are both excited about this film. We are very excited about this film. Both of us are.
I'm not too keen on the title. But
no, not too cute on the title either. Star Wars has had. I'll be negative here. I love Star Wars. They have had a lack of imagination when it comes to titling their projects. Obi-Wan, Andor, Ahsoka.
When it comes to the title of the projects, let us emphasize that point.
Yes, title of the project.
I put this out on the. I put this out on the Thank the Maker podcast last night. I was like, I actually had two. I was like, call it either Grogu Summer Vacation or Mando First Blood.
I love it. As far as our podcast goes, they should just call it Dave.
Yes.
There's actually a film like that starring Kevin Kline, so it wouldn't work. That's the idea.
And also the show starring the rapper Lil Dicky. It's just called Dave.
There you go.
Yes. And I am fully starting. I'm starting the campaign. When's this movie going to come out? 2025, we reckon?
Well,
if it's in production, if it's coming out, and if it starts production in 2024, I'm willing to say late 2025. We're probably going to see it. Grogu for Best Actor. And he will go down as the most successful child actor of all time.
It's actually child actor in history too.
they mentioned it on Force Center, right? I just have this picture in my head of Ash sitting down, trying to make Ash Crossing, sitting down, trying to maintain her composure, doing like a press junket opposite Grogu. That would be just the greatest scene. That would be awesome.
So we actually get in the timeline. So I'm trying to think things I want to talk about the timeline, but I want to bring up now. Speaking of, all right, so we should need different title. We both agree with that. The deadline quote is one of the more interesting aspects to me, because it's not mentioned in the official press release. So I'm not sure necessarily what deadline gets it, but Mandalorian season 4 is still in development, and that kind of. I don't know if concern is the right word or if I believe it or either way. Skeptical. The idea is I am a little skeptical. Before when we had this rumor that like Jeff Snyder broke out first when this was going to be a movie, it was the entire thing was about that this movie that they were going to do was going to be replacing season 4. There's going to be a Mandalorian movie instead of a season 4. Then it was back on TV, and then this came out again as Best Friend Bulletin put it out. It was funny that they kind of gone back and forth. I'm still hearing series, I'm still hearing movie. In a way, it would make sense. Maybe that's why there was confusion, because maybe both were inactive. So, well, I'm hearing movie, I'm hearing TV. Maybe they're both hearing different things that are actually both accurate. At the same time, though, we're going to get into that timeline thing. I'm a little concerned with how we are going to be jam-packing story in the next couple of years now. Like, I never want to say there's a problem with too much Star Wars, but the problem becomes if the people involved, the creative heads, are spread too thin. We've seen that with the MCU, that Kevin Feige was spread too thin on things.
I was going to say, I didn't believe in superhero movie fatigue until recently, when I actually started having a little bit of it myself, and I was just like, okay, like I'm good on this for not for forever, but like I'm good on this for a little bit. Like, let me just sit back for a minute. And I do not want that to happen to Star Wars. And I like superhero movies. I like comic book movies. So like, it could happen.
You get it. It can. It absolutely can. But I'm actually even concerned more about. So here we go. We got Skeleton Crew, which we know. All we know is 2024. We have heard November of 2024, somewhere around there. Holiday is 2024. That would mean that would be because that has been tied into the Mandoverse. So that would be the next piece of Mandoverse we get. It would be the end of 2024. If this is starting production now, you said it best. I think December of 2025 is the earliest we can get it, to be honest with you. I would think it'd be more likely to come May 2026. However,
possible.
But then the problem comes to this, because I also have a speculation that's almost, I don't know how it couldn't happen, and I'll get there. But then we got to fit in an Ahsoka season 2. I'm not sure where a Mando season 4 would fit in, because I have a feeling that Dave Filoni's Filoniverse movie. Hold on, let me get there. Mandoverse movie.
I know this one. I'm just putting my hand up like a good boy.
Mandoverse movie is going to come out in May of 2027 as part of the 50th anniversary of A New Hope. It just makes all the sense in the world, and here's why. We've rumored already. First of all, Filoni is the guy now in charge. We've heard the rumors. We've heard the rumors of Luke, Leia, and Han being in this movie potentially, which makes a lot of sense storyline, especially if they're doing a Heir to the Empire update in the New Republic at this time. If you're getting involved in the New Republic, they are the big 3 of the New Republic. It also goes to show you that they might try to be appeasing some fan base members who had the issue, so to speak, of never getting to see the big 3 together on scene for the sequels. Han died before we got Han, Luke, and Leia together again, which is, I think, honestly, is a understandable. I mean, complaint is a strong word, but I kind of have that. Oh, that's a missed opportunity. I think they can rectify that by having them have their real last hurrah in a way in this movie, alongside Din and Ahsoka and whoever else is the Portal style, Avengers style thing. And what a better way to do that than have their last hurrah, the final big Luke, Han, and Leia push happen in the 50th anniversary of A New Hope. So that, to me, seems like such a no-brainer that I feel like the Filoni movie has to be May of 2027. So that's why the timeline crush is like. So my bet is that Mando season 4 is not going to happen, at least now. Could it happen after the Filoni movie? Potentially.
I'm glad you said that, because I was going to say, we've heard in interviews they've said just because it's the end of this arc doesn't mean it's the end of the Mandalorian. Like, they could still create other stories. Let's face it, Pedro's probably not going to show up on set. It's probably going to be Brendan and Lateef. And maybe that's how they shoot it. one day Brendan's in the suit over here, Latif's in the suit shooting season 4, and then the next day they swap. They're like, okay, Latif, now you go shoot the movie, Brendan, you go shoot the season, with 2 guys in the suit. Probably, and the way they work apparently, another thing I found out, probably what they're doing. They've probably got 2 sets. They're like, right, you shoot there, swap over. I wouldn't be surprised. But I think you're right. I think the 50th anniversary is the no-brainer. I personally do not think this movie will tie into the greater Filoniverse, the Heir to the Empire story. I really don't think it will.
The one coming out now. The one coming out now. The movie coming out. Favreau's movie. Right. Okay.
Favreau's Mando movie. I don't believe it will tie in to the wider you. I think later on in the movie, maybe post-credit scene, maybe. I have a sneaking suspicion that this is going to be working, because there was a lot of last time they were like, oh my god, they're rushing Din through. This isn't Din Djarin's story anymore. Blah blah blah. I think they're going to take it back down to its roots, and we're going to get more of a Din and Grogu movie. And shout out to Ken Napsok, because when he said this yesterday, I damn near brought a tear to my eye. We've talked long and often about the thought of Ahmed Best being on screen as Kelleran Beck, handing off baby Dave, baby Grogu, to Jar Jar Binks. How perfect would it be for that to happen on the big screen?
Oh yeah. Well, let's be honest with you. I agree with Ken and you. Is that the fact is we've had this piece of they've been drip dropping the Grogu escaping Order 66 with Kelleran for a while now. They've done that specifically. They said, well, we'll touch base on it here. We find that it's a great piece to come back to. Now that they have a movie coming out, that seems to be the place where they would drop that. Like, this is the big finale. This is how, because I got to feel like we're towards the end of it anyway, because the last thing we saw was Kelleran getting into the Naboo, getting Grogu to the Naboo fighter at that point. So I feel like there's not a whole lot left, unless there's some kind of space battle or some kind of, like, if you go to the comics when Boba took on the Jabba, there's a whole big thing we didn't know about with the Crimson Order. Maybe some of that's Crimson Dawn. I don't know. Maybe something comes out of that. But I feel like there's not a whole lot left. So I feel like you're right. I feel we get that in here. It is titled The Mandalorian and Grogu. So this obviously is they're the pieces of information I feel like we're going with. That's the central point. I don't disagree with you. I think that season 3 ended with such a reset that it would make all the sense in the world for them to just, here we go. Here's Mandalorian Grogu. This is who they are. Almost back to season 1 kind of thing. At the same time, I got to feel like they have to do something if we're going to do that, push that towards the Filoni-verse stuff or the Mando-verse stuff towards the end. But I'd be careful about that, though, because I hate doing that. I always hate drip dropping stuff, and like, do your movie, do a movie with a solid beginning, middle, and end, and then worry about everything else afterwards. So I actually hope you're right. I actually hope this is kind of more of a Mando and Grogu movie. The only problem I have is you have to come up with a story that's big enough to entitle a movie. Dave Filoni has said a movie should be a big event in the timeline. That's why he said the Mandoverse movie was happening, because TV is great, but a movie is a 2-hour thing. It should be a big event that shapes the universe. This has to be something big enough to require a movie that doesn't end things for the Mandoverse that's coming up with Filoni's end movie as well. So it's kind of like that balance you got to come up with at this point, which is going to be interesting to see what they do with that, I think. But going back to season 4 real quick, that's what I'm saying, is that but the reason why I don't think season 4 might not happen right away is that the scripts were written for season 4. I kind of feel like if they're going to production in 2024, I think however the movie happened, whether Jon Favreau marched into Kathleen Kennedy's office with the Cubano and said, hey, I got a movie for you, or it went the other way around, hey, do you have a movie for me? I feel like they went, okay, let's take our season 4 scripts that we wrote. Can we pare down the things and maybe excise a Bo-Katan type story or a whatever story, and let's just take the Mando and Grogu story? Can we excise that down and cut that down into a 2-hour feature film story? So I think that's why season 4 didn't happen as it is written now. I think season 4 could be in pre-production, like down the line, like, all right, yeah, we'll continue something way out in the line and go back to it. without Mando season 4, it does seem more feasible. Skeleton Crew 2024, December of 2025, May of 2026 for this movie, fall for Ahsoka season 2, Rey movie December of 2026, because that's just about going to be done too. That's already start production as well. The script is pretty much done by Stephen Knight. We're already getting cast with Rey and everything else. I kind of feel like that's going to be the end of 2026, I think. Which means we have May 2026, December 2026, May 2027 for Filoniverse movie. However, does that put a lot of pressure on Dave? Because if Dave is developing Ahsoka season 2, and Dave Filoni, I mean, not Grogu, Ahsoka season 2 and the movie together, that's
the
scary.
Business.
It's scary.
That's the business.
Does Dave Filoni turn over the reins of directing Ahsoka season 2? Like, does he write it? Does he produce it? Etc.? Let somebody else take the reins while he works on the movie.
That is the one where I'm like a categorical hell no one is touching it. So maybe he lets go of the reins of something like an Andor or Bad Batch
either. Well, he doesn't have much about Bad Batch already.
But he's become that person now that everyone's going to go to him. So I feel like he would be like, I'm working on this. I'm going to step back from all of you guys. I'm going to let you guys do your thing, which he has said that he is willing to do. He's willing to let people play in the sandbox, and he just point people in that direction. When it comes to Ahsoka, that's the one where I'm like, we know how much he loves Ahsoka. That I don't think he's gonna. He might bring in people to direct.
I mean, he didn't direct all of Ahsoka anyway, so that makes sense. The other directors, so. Yeah, I just worry he's a little bit, because this is his first movie, his first feature film that he's directing now. That's a big movie to have to be your first, the 50th anniversary. If that, I mean, I shouldn't say it because that's my prediction, but the big end of the Mandoverse movie, that's your first movie you're directing. That's a little scary to be your first film, especially if you're the head of creative and you're also doing Ahsoka season 2, etc. I don't think he'll have much to do in the Mando movie. I feel like that's going to be mostly favs, which is fine. But it'll be very, very interesting to see. The other smidge of that is, does that mean there's an opening for a new series now? If there is no Mando season 4, do we have a new series to come and take its place, or they just kind of let it ride?
I think you need one more.
Yeah.
You need to do something with Hera and Ezra. Be it be it the repurposing the Rangers of the New Republic. You gotta do something there to set up Thrawn because I personally don't think Ahsoka season 2 is going to have much to do with Thrawn.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree.
Balin's going to be the main bad of that one. You need to do something to set up Thrawn as the big bad. Maybe you could do that in the Mandalorian movie. I personally I wouldn't be opposed to it, but then it's just like we're getting Din against the big bad. Maybe the movie is Thrawn kicks down Din, and that's the big event that sets Grogu off, and that's the big chain reaction event that we need to set it off.
Maybe.
I don't know, but I just feel
it could be an Avenger situation where Thanos is behind Loki, technically speaking. So they have like Thrawn in the background, but there's actually a villain, a big villain. I think is second. Like maybe it's Captain Palaeon. Maybe he gets the Imperials together, kind of thing, and there's something to that effect.
When you got Ray Sloane's out there as well, it just seems like if you look at it like a jigsaw puzzle, it's like there's one piece missing.
Yep,
that could really tie it all together, and I think that's one that Dave will be like, I go with the Force. I trust you. Set this up for me. I will point you in the right direction, but you go with it.
Agreed. I will also. I can't. let's talk about the rest part of it. That was it's kind of funny that they kind of threw it in there at the end. Oh, Dave's also developing season 2. It's kind of funny. I said this on PJ yesterday. We're talking to Peter Way on film. I found it funny that like they dropped it in like that because they had all been very weirdly careful about if season 2 happens, working on possibility. It almost feels like it was definitively one of the biggest pieces of it was all leading to season 2. It had to happen.
It was kept secret.
Right. I mean, Alden said on Twitter, it's like exactly, but like at the same time, I don't understand why before they were always very much like, if it happens, maybe it's happening. I don't know. Like it was kind of this weird thing. I don't know why they were being so secretive about it. And all of a sudden here they just kind of like, okay, it's developing. Of course, that's the other piece of news. That's the what A of the big piece of news is that they did drop today, specifically Star Wars actually specifically put it out. Ahsoka season 2 is in production is in development. There you go. That was what Dave Filoni drawing as he usually does. That's what they announced it. The story continues. And there you go with Sabine and Ahsoka on the Mortis God hand that we saw Balin on at the end. Absolutely. And no, that's not writing on the fingers, guys. That's just the
shading.
So let's not get too nuts.
Do you want me to really put my balls on the table right now? Make a real ball prediction?
Yeah.
I think it's like season 2 comes after the Filoni movie.
That went through my mind, but I'm going to disagree for one big reason. How is Ahsoka in the Mando movie if she's in the galaxy far away? I don't see Dave Filoni having his first movie without Ahsoka. Having Ahsoka and Luke together is like the key point people have been wanting for a while. I think it can't happen. I think
a lot of things for a while. We haven't got. Maybe Filoni just decided to say, you know what, I can make a movie without her. Let me show you.
You know what? I'll give it. Sorry, jitters again on the screens. It happens. There are little glitches here and there. So I was saying that the more I think about it, I could see it potentially happening because if you do put the big 3 in, that does relieve you from having Ahsoka in there potentially. Because quite frankly, you could have, because it's already going to be jam-packed with people. I mean, you always talk about the Avengers portal scene, which is why you think everybody would be there. Maybe not. I mean, obviously, Ahsoka season 2, you said it best. I don't think it's going to have much, if anything, to do with Hera and Ezra. I think it's specifically going to be that galaxy far, far away, and the Mortis gods, and Balin, and Shin, and those people that Shin is leading now, and Ahsoka and Sabine.
And my favorite rapper, Lil Nerdy.
Lil Naughty, that's right, Lil Naughty. So while I can't commit to that, I actually could potentially see that maybe. But if I had to bet, if I'm a betting man, I still think that it's going to be Ahsoka going to come back before then.
If we want the Rebels team in the against Thrawn, right?
Right.
Ahsoka went in Rebels that much.
Sabine was
Sabine. Sabine can come back.
Before the Ahsoka 2 season series? Ahsoka season 2 series? Season 2?
No. Yeah, you got me there. Yeah.
I can tell you, there's Sabine right there. So she's still the galaxy. That other galaxy.
I don't know. Dave relied, Dave, you've got artists for a reason.
Yeah. I don't know. So I don't think it's going to happen. I think it is going to take place before the movie because I think that's all going to end up being part and parcel. However, it'll be interesting to see, nonetheless. Absolutely interesting to see. I can't wait to see what this timeline is going to be. I'm fascinated to see how it goes down. I'm just hoping that the years away from the films have gotten them to kind of like get their houses in order. I will say the Mandalorian the movie won't need as much pre-production because they already have the sets, the volume that they had for the seasons for series 1 through 3. So that actually has helped taken care of. They actually already have a lot of the cast in place probably. And if those scripts are written and they're just cannibalizing them a little bit and streamlining it, that's actually a good thing because if anything about Mandalorian season 3, if there are any concerns or criticisms about Mandalorian season 3, it was that it was a little meandering at times. Had a lot of different, like, telling a little Bo-Katan story, the story, that story. If you're going to streamline into a movie, that kind of cuts all that out, and you have a streamlined 2-hour movie.
And still the most watched show on streaming.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I love 3. I do think that 3 was my least favorite of the 3. I will say that. I think it was my least favorite.
My punches in.
Get your punches in. That's fine. That's fine. I think
I also think that this is my last point.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the business side of it, mm-hmm. I do feel like this is also a bit of a reaction to what we're seeing now with streaming.
Mm-hmm.
I think streaming was a fun experiment while it lasted, but
I don't think it's going away. But I do agree that they're shifting some things around.
We're gonna go back. I have a feeling we're gonna go back to a new version of cable. Where you're going to start getting all these. I mean, you already get it, right? With Disney Plus, you get Hulu, which is going away. And then you get ESPN. We're going to be getting, allegedly, we're getting Warner Brothers and Paramount. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point Amazon buys everything.
It's true. Very true. It definitely, there are definitely some rebound from streaming. I think there's some course correction going on. I don't think it'll go away. I hope it doesn't go away completely, because I like the idea. I love the idea of having Disney Plus having Star Wars shows. I think it's great. I think it works. I think that you can cut back on some things, potentially, like Marvel shows and everything else. You can cut back on some, but you can still tell the stories you want to tell smaller budgeted version of shows, and it still has its place. But I'm glad to see a big turn back to the big screen. So having some Star Wars content on the big screen, that's the big win. We're definitely getting Star Wars back on the big screen. This is definitively a movie that I feel confident that this one's going to happen. Like, you know what I mean? I feel confident this one's going to happen. So
what if they put it out on Disney Plus?
That won't happen.
Oh my God.
That won't happen. It does say theaters. It actually says theaters in the press release.
Okay.
Says right there's the first line, 2 movie theaters. That's what it says.
Okay.
All right. I think that's where we will end this week's episode. We're running out of time. I have some got a heart out now at this point. I think we touched base on pretty much everything we want to talk about as far as the movie goes for now. This is definitely a to be continued storyline. We're going to see a lot more information drop out about this and Ahsoka season 2 and the timeline coming up. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching this, guys. If this is your first time here, hit that like, that subscribe, leave comments, all that jazz, share us, let us know we're out there. Let people know we're out here, I should say. Matty, where can the folks find you?
You guys can find me right there. And you can also find me on patreon.com/POD projects. Getting ready. I don't know when we're going to do it, but thank you to everyone that got us to 500 subscribers.
Yes. Thank you so much, guys.
We're, our next target, I think it's better to say 750.
I'm going to say go for it. Let's go for 1,000. Go for 1K.
Okay, 1,000. If you join us over on Patreon at any level, I will be at some point, probably, I want to do it at Easter. Let's keep it to the holidays. I will be doing a watch along of the holiday special live. So you guys can join in, watch with me. We can laugh, joke. You guys can critique one of the masterpieces of Star Wars while I enjoy it. What are we going to do? What can we do for 1,000? For 1,000 follows, for 1,000 subscribers.
We'll have to pitch something about that.
POD will watch the holiday special.
There you go. I'll join you for that. Absolutely.
No. You by yourself.
Oh, myself? Okay. All right. Fair. Okay. We'll see. If we get to 1,000 before you do it, then I'll just join you.
Okay. Yeah, we do that. Yeah.
But we're a slow building podcast, so it's all good. All right, Matty, you can find me at Paul _ News on Twitter and PLD Projects on Threads. I think Paul Studio on Blue Sky, even though I don't visit them very much still. You can find me all over PLD Projects, of course. We got PLD Projects, Crown Jewels, my sister YouTube channel, which is already over 500 subscribers as well. We're doing Queen song Get Down, Make Love on Crown Jewels this week.
Hell yeah.
A little funky track there. Of course, we got a lot of stuff going on here on the main channel. We have review every other week. Me and Lego discussing V. We have 2 Meet Over White Dudes on Film. We just had our episode yesterday. Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. Not so final, but going through that Friday the 13th saga. And of course, we also have the Big Blue Box, which is me and TJ talking Doctor Who. Doing an after show for that, and got some ranking episodes coming up for that.
I had the last special was pretty good. I heard there was a pretty good song
Yes, there was a great song in the last special, the Goblin song. Wonderful voice behind that song, for sure. Also in the last special, for those out there, I've made this abundantly clear. It's a good crossover for me. Mrs. Flood was played by Anita Dobson, who most people also know as Mrs. Dr. Brian May. So there's a musical episode in the future. Maybe we can get Dr. Brian May on Doctor Who as well. Because if there's any musician who deserves to be on Doctor Who, it's Dr. Brian May. So there you go.
Say the word.
There you go. All right, folks. I think that should do it for us. Any last other business? I think no, I don't think so. Next week we'll talk about more news and we'll delve into that what if George Lucas episode 7 had happened kind of business, and we will go from there. But until next time, as always, may the Force be with you always.